hear me?
I can just about hear you. What's your name and where you calling from, please? And what's your question?
Hey, my name is Jamel. I'm pretty much calling from Atlanta, Georgia,
Hey,
and I have a question. It seems kind of off topic in a sense.
go
But
ahead.
my question is, I don't know if you know about what's going on in America today, especially about Elon Musk and stuff like that. So,
Um,
so I'm gonna give you a brief story.
yeah, just I was gonna say
And
I
then
haven't been not today, but go ahead.
So a brief story is pretty much Elon Musk is trying to take money from the government to pay for his trip to Mars or pay for humanity's trip to Mars to save humanity. Uh, so I wanted to get your thoughts on that. On of course, is it right for him to take money from poor people to pay for his dreams, or
I hear
do
you.
you think that it's also a good thing, to have us go to Mars to explore more outside of this place we call Earth?
All right, I got you. Yeah, so Rahul back everyone. With Wu-Sabat, we like to stay and focus on what we're doing because we know that it's the world out there is crazy. We don't really get involved with the politics, some call politics. But you have to remember the person you have in office in that seat right now pretty much does what he likes. He's not really that influenced by anybody else. He has his agenda, and that's what he's focusing on. And of course, he's surrounding himself with people that are going to help him achieve his agenda. And already, you know, from the get-go, he's just executive orders, you can see what's happening. I mean, some of the stuff makes sense in terms of, tidying up, streamlining the business and, trying to make sure that, because you got to remember, America is broke. America has been broke for a very long time. We're dealing with a debt system, the fiat system of them owing trillions and trillions of dollars, right? So, he's kind of desperate. And if you look at, it's all about right now trying to pay off the debt. And that was something in the campaign he was talking about, bringing down the debt. And of course, if he's got rich friends, Elon Musk being one of those, they claim to say he's the richest man on the planet. So why is he taking taxpayers' money, for example? And then you have, the guys from Amazon, the guys from Facebook, all these guys and people that have influence, people that are connected to Joe Rogan. Joe Rogan had him on the show. He's got millions of, So what I'm saying is people have to get used to the fact that even before he was, sworn in, he was already doing his own thing, pretty much. And they have to get used to the fact that he's not like your regular politicians and so forth. So, yeah, so like I said, we don't really get involved in the politics. We are focused, our focus is on what we're doing. Of course, the attention is going to turn because even some of the, a lot of stuff he's doing, if you're Sabian, if you're Nuwapian, if you've been listening to the master teacher, Dr. Malachi Z. York, Parna Babyanun, and you've read many of the scrolls and the books that he's put out for many years, a lot of what's happening, it's not new or it's not surprising to us. We explained a long time ago that he was going to come back and he was going to build, what they claim to be Solomon's temple and so on. And that whole thing with the, clearing up Gaza and the Israel and, the Hamas. And it's amazing when you look at the land now, it's literally leveled. And we know that he was going to be rebuilding, and this week he's been saying on the news he wants to rebuild. He wants to rebuild Gaza, and to us it's like, okay, cool. There's going to be that he's going to go and build the temple to Nana. All right, so that it's not surprising to us because we knew this was going to happen. It was about the land, it was about building, and unfortunately, you know, we had to go through all of this displacement of people, and even like people saying like, oh, the Palestinians are not allowed back there, and you know the excuse is that obviously it's going to take time to rebuild. But we know just from experience and from previous wars that, you know, if you look at the Iraq war or other wars, what happens is when you destroy, you have to rebuild. Rebuilding means you make money from contracts and, you know, things like that. So for us, we're not really trying to focus on that. We want to focus on what matters. The main thing is for us is Partner Babyanun, right? Unless we hear that Trump is going to pardon him or do something in relation to, you know, freeing the master, because if he's really about, you know, bringing about justice and world peace and all of that, then for us, our main concern is free Dr. Malachi Z.K. York, Partner Babyanun. Do you know what I mean? Because that's what we're concerned about. And anything else, you know, we're really not going to get involved. But we definitely want, because Partner Babyanun, what I was actually just asking and saying, if you have not heard of him or don't know about him, then I don't know what planet you've been living on. And I'm saying that to say that he's literally the best example that I know, and many will attest to this, for an example of what you call love, care, whatever you want to look at to be like of a high standard. That's what he represents. But we've got another call, so let me take this call. Hey, Rahubat Zamal, I think it's Terry. Where are you calling from and what's your question, please?
Yes, this is Terry Joma. I'm calling in from Zambia.
Rahubat.
Yes, so the question I have, I think I'd asked a question in one of the Zoom classes.
Okay.
Regarding the master teacher.
Right.
Like as the being Yanun, after he exists, after you exit the physical vehicle of Dr. Malachi Ziok.
Go on.
Like,
yeah.
When will he come back? And then the brother answered, and then he said, like, though we can still connect with him through a prayer. So I just wanted to find out more about that.
Okay. Right. Let me tell you what I'm going to answer the question. Right now, we ain't thinking about him exiting because that's not a good look or a good sign for us. So instead of us worrying about after he exit, will he come back or will we still connect to him? Why don't we focus on getting him out? That way you can break bread with him, you can experience him and be around him. Do you know what I mean? It's like we know our fate, F-A-T-E, is dependent on him because he knows the way, he has the secrets, he knows things that we need, and there's still work and things he has to do for humanity and for us. So we're asking questions like, after he exit, are we still able to connect with him? The answer is yes, because he says that, look for me in the wind, look for me in the, you know, he says many things, how you are connected, how you can be connected to him. But I'm not trying to wait and focus on if he exits, right? We want to get him home. That's what we need to focus on. But yes, a lot of us, sometimes we wait for what's to come as opposed to what we've got, you know. Like, for example, there are people who want the latest books. They just look at him as a source of information. And even though we have all these books and 1,000 books that most people haven't read or mastered, some people may not have even mastered one book, such as the Holy Tablets, which he put out in the 90s, 95, 96. They've not read that whole book from beginning to end and mastered it, but everyone's waiting for the new book, the new book, the new book, the new book. I'm saying, like, appreciate what you have. We deal with living in the now, right? We focus on the now because, tomorrow's not given. So let's focus on now. But I've got another call. Let's go straight to that new call. Rahubat, Rosalind, where you calling from?
Hello.
Hey, Rahubat.
My question is, I'm just trying to understand exactly the Negroes that are considered to be the descendants of the so-called slaves of America. Is the governmental system in which we're under now, or the colonizers, or the people that claim to own these beings? Do they consider them still property of their purchase? And this is why it's like they feel like they own these beings, and that if these beings decide that, they no longer want to participate or be part of this governmental enslavement, like generation after generation. And the confusion, when I think about when I was a young person and I would hear stories about prisoners of war, and the biggest one story was the Nelson Mandela, and I really couldn't understand why someone would be in prison for speaking a truth or trying to help people have a better life, or so at this point I'm kind of trying to understand why we have these moments of fear when it comes to us wanting to, when I say us, I identify myself as a Negro,
Right.
born in America. And I say, deep inside you're like, well, what's the problem?
All right. Yeah, sorry.
And that we have a governmental system, and that United Nations is not involved in helping free innocent people and protecting the average person who wants to identify with their ancestral line and claim their identity. Because I believe they all know, the United Nations and the government, and they have records of who these people are, right? And that just by the concept of them claiming that they classified these people as Negroes on their birth certificate, that should be, in a way, the proof, first of all, that,
Okay, let me answer the question, please. Cause
okay, sorry.
I hear you. And okay, first of all, you're not a Negro. And you're right. When you are classified as such, you do not have any rights. And this is even in the Constitution, right? So you don't have any rights. This is why it's taken a while, because you have to, first of all, teach people. The closest thing to being recognized as having some sort of rights, even though, in this day and time, they don't even really honor and respect the Moors, right? Because there were actually treaties signed that distinguished what they would call Moors from what they call the Negro or the slaves, as you say. So yes, the Negro, this is why we don't identify with that, and it's going to take time for people to recognize and say, we're Musbatu. Now, you can say that, and someone who's never heard of that or doesn't understand or understand what that means, they won't identify with it. So we have to go through the process of going back to what is recognized and known by the masses, which would be we are from what they consider or labeled as Africa. So the Africans, which would be the original people on the planet, by way of any type of method you want to use, whether it's historical, whether it's anthropology, whether it's, DNA, whatever type of method you'd like to use to establish who are the indigenous people on the planet, not just in America, because this is another trick. How can you discover something that's already there and already exists? So Musbatu, to get to Musbatu, which we say today, okay, let me walk you through it. So we would go, okay, we identify with Africa, but really the original people there were Pataites, who became known as newborns, right? And that word newborns is where the word Nubian came from, which then some of those people just literally walked across to what you're calling America today, south or north, where there was a Mexim, all right, or Atlan, Utla, which became Atlantis, with the Greeks adding the tis at the end of Atlan. And from those original people, they were then identified on the American side when the continental drift took place, where those who remain on the side of what we call Africa, which has many, many names, original name was Ganawa, they then separated with those that became known as the Olmecs on the other side. And even when you said America, that's dealing with when the Emirs, because people had to start sailing over when the gap was too big. And then you had the Chinese under Husheng, on the Shang dynasty, who came over and mixed with the Olmecs to produce what you're calling today, which would be really, the term should be Native Americans and not American Indians, going back to those original Africans or the descendants of the Olmecs. I'm saying that to say that when you try to walk people through and say from Africa, which was really a name that was coined by the Arabs from the word Afrika or Faraka, which literally means to divide, because it goes back to the Berlin Conference and certain things where they literally chopped up and divided Africa and shared it amongst themselves based on the resources that were there, like the gold, the platinum, the silver, the cobalt, this and that. Anyway, going from that, you say newborns became Nubians, and we were identified as Nuwapians, which is the common name. It was like the master teacher brought and made the word Nubian popular in America, so everybody started to use that. But really that is tying into Nuwapian or Sabian when we start to go, okay, how did we arrive in Africa? Then we tie back to what people call Egyptians, but we're really dealing with the original Pataites, pre-dynastic, who tie into the what we call the Orion and the Sirius star constellations, where they came from. That person's gonna have to hold for a minute because I want to get through this here. So when you tie back, okay, we know that we're not just from this planet. We come from outside the planet in terms of our origins, and our ancestors known as the Pantaru, which is separate from the Anunnaki, which a lot of people are starting to find out much more about today. However, those beings resided in what people call Africa today. So depending on how far back you want to go, because we actually predate everyone on the planet, every religion on the planet. We even predate, this might sound crazy to some people, the moon and the stars, okay? But anyway, I'm saying that to say that we are now tying right back to who we really are as Musbatu or Sabians, Sabians or Nuwapians. And that's who you really are. By being indigenous on the planet. So as a retained sovereign nation, you don't really have to prove anything. You can prove who you are as the original people on the planet, and I'm talking about anywhere on the planet. So that question about being a Negro and are you still a slave? Yes, you are. Do you have any rights under the, go back and read the Constitution, read, you're not. Our brother Umar Johnson and certain other people, they explain this very well, being Americans themselves. And so the best thing I could say to you, sister, is find your way to Musbatu and to Wu-Sabat as a Musbatu or as a Sabians, and then you get to really know, what's going on and what our mission. Oh yeah, the other point I wanted to touch on, you spoke about the fear. Yes, people like Mandela or certain people who were fighting against oppression, and during that, even the 60s with the civil rights, movements, which was really based on the leaders, although they meant well, a lot of them didn't have the full information of being indigenous and being who they are, to the point where their origins or what they used to tie in was always religion or some type of, what's the word I'm looking for? Some kind of activist role where it would be met with violence. And obviously at that point, they were looking for who's going to be the person or the one that can actually liberate, us as a people. And of course, bring about peace to humanity. And every leader that popped up during that time, to them was a threat. They set up things like COINTELPRO, which was to look for things like the Black Messiah, for example. And so people like Mandela, and Mandela was actually lobotomized whilst he was doing time. So by the time he came out, he wasn't the same person. And that goes into a whole different situation. But yes, this is why anybody that doesn't follow what they consider to be, being a Negro, because even movements like AWCP, if I'm remembering the acronym right, but the NACCP, I'm talking about the Negro movement with people like Al Sharpton. I might look it up whilst we're, yeah, that's it, right? Those movements, a lot of those, if you look at the leaders of a lot of those movements, they're what people will consider today mulattoes or Uncle Toms, if you want to use that word. They're people that they didn't really, they said, yes, sir, how high shall I jump? 10 bags full, sir. They just like, until this day, any leader who is not really, a puppet, that like the master teacher, Pana Babyanon, he's always stood for truth and he's still standing for truth. He doesn't, stand for injustice. But yeah, there are a lot of things that are taking place right now. I heard, of course, again with the new president, that he's going to get rid of celebrating Martin Luther King's Day, Black History Month, and these kind of things. So these are things that, should be of concern. And so we're just here focusing on Wu-Sabat, teaching the truth, uniting everybody, basically trying to bring world peace and deal with our liberation as a people. And that's what Wu-Sabat is here to do for anyone who's really about that. So, we just teach the truth, and that's it. And you can do your own research as well. Just because we teach doesn't mean that you just leave everything to us. Oh yeah, the point I wanted to touch on, the fear. We're living in a day and time because, as you say, things are changing. The planet's changing. Mother Nature's changing. It's time, the time we're in is called the sun cycle, 9 ether. It's a rejuvenation and a resurrection of a consciousness that anyone who's really vibrating on that frequency will resonate with, and that's what it is. So yeah, all right, I hope that's answered the question. And if you're not already in our Telegram group, please look in the chat, join our Telegram group, because the conversation continues, and by you joining, you're helping us to reach more people. And so yeah, Look in the chat. The Telegram link has been posted. Okay, let's take the next caller. Rahubat, what's your name? Where you calling from, and what's your question, please?
Sakad, Arizona. I want to know how Malachi Z. York went through his whole process of actually gaining his wealth to support the movement.
Getting his wealth to support the movement. Oh, the wealth.
Yes.
The wealth. Okay.
Yeah. Like his finances on this physical plane.
Okay. Yeah, that's a great question. Just like all of us, you know, he was a very talented person musically. He had a music career. He was making good money. He wrote a lot of songs for people. He had his own like record label and recording studio and production, and he was doing that. But even prior to that, he worked in the stock exchange. He did a lot of things where, and his family actually, the background of his family was wealthy, but he built his own wealth, and of course, once he was fully focused on the mission of, what he was really here to do, which is becoming the being known as Janun. He started to put out the truth, and he literally he wrote the scrolls, the first scrolls himself. He typed them out, he printed them, he went out on the street, he propagated and was teaching. And when he was teaching, he had that charisma that many people were drawn to, the energy of the being that he is. And then the truth, basically, that's how he built it. By the truth, people were attracted to it. And then, he started to produce more pamphlets, as they were known at the time. Those became, books, publications, and obviously many people started to gravitate to him, and he started to build a community, and those who, could feel and see this being and what he was teaching was so profound, they started to work with him, and as you can see, he just went from there to building communities, because it was always about working together with people, like-minded people, and went through the different communities. Most people remember when we were going through the various schools, the Ansarullah community, for example, in New York, and and it just grew from there. Just like, people just, because you have innate within you, you know when something is true, although there are many distractions and many people will try and pull you in different directions, but when something vibrates and resonates with you and you know it to be true, you feel it. And from that feeling, you take action and you do what we ask you to do, which is research, check things out. Okay, got another caller? All right, I hope that helps you, brother, but Rahubat. Jamal?
Yeah. Oh, okay, my bad.
It's
really hard to
good.
get in touch with you sometimes.
Yeah, what's your question? And just for the listeners, where are you calling from?
I'm coming from Atlanta, America.
Tua.
And my question goes back to Simon in Egypt around 957 BC. It kind of goes back to there and back to King Tut. As you know, as King Tut is a very prominent king, very rich in gold and stuff like that, and most of his thrones and artifacts and all this other stuff was buried with him. But my question is about Simon. Simon is around the pharaoh before the fall of Egypt, and my question is that Simon kind of translate with Solomon in the Bible, whereas Simon's daughter married Solomon somehow, and all that story mixed up. My question is that do you think that Simon and Solomon was actually coexisted around each other, or do you think the Solomon part of the Bible was just kind of like fabricated?
It is. You just answered your own question. It is fabricated.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Because a lot of the names that end up in the Bible like they're made up names from like ancient Egyptian characters that existed, but they got concocted. So when you're saying Solomon, you're actually saying Sol, Om, and Amun or something like that. I don't have the in front of me, but it's dealing with a concoction of two different, because Om deals with, like the Eastern, when the Eastern religions, they kind of focus on Om, and we know Om to be like that sound, or the universe when it first that Big Bang, what people talk, that sound Om, and Soul relates to the sun. We got another caller. So yeah, you've answered the question, and if
So
you're
let me ask you this then:
yeah.
do you think Solomon is Solomon, in a sense that maybe they got the name mixed up and
When you say Simon,
Sol-
where is
Simon,
how are you spelling that? As in
SIAMUN?
Oh, Siamun? Did you say
Yeah, yes.
Simeon? I'm not. No, I'm not. I'm not. Where is that? Where's the reference that you're getting that from?
Wikipedia.
Oh, okay. Well,
Around 957 BC.
I'd have to check that, because I've not come across that. I thought at first you were saying Simon, as in like the son of Jesus, Simon Bar Jesus, but
Oh yeah, no.
okay. Yeah, I'm gonna have to look into a bit more of that, because if it's Wikipedia, they make up anything and they can tell you anything. But I definitely know Solomon.
Okay.
We got a lot of information on Solomon, and that's,
Who is he? Who's Solomon in Egypt? Like who would be that?
yeah, I
That
can't
figure?
remember right now, but he'll be one of the pharaohs. Are you in our Telegram group?
Yes, I am.
Okay, perfect. These are the kind of things that we have to take offline, and I'll find the information. I'm sure. In fact, maybe one of the other teachers in the chat may even be listening. I will answer it for you or give you the information. But I'm gonna come back to you on that in the Telegram group with the exact person that he is. I can't remember at the top of my head right now.
Okay, cool. Thank you so much.
You're welcome. All right. Yeah, I was. Yeah. Whilst you're doing that, let me just go back to. Okay, I'm just looking in our I'm looking in our Telegram group at the moment as well, in case there are other questions, and any student teachers that are online or in the chat, if you could please help answer some of the questions. Okay, we've got another caller, yeah. All right.
About Malachi's wealth.
Oh yeah, Rahubat, brother.
Appreciate you, brother. So my next question is, me and a fellow spiritual brother of mine, we kind of agree to disagree, but he says he wants to use Trump's crypto market to gain his wealth, but spiritually inside me, or intuitively, I should say, I don't feel like we should use the enemy at all to gain anything if we are truly trying to ascend spiritually.
Oh,
What do you think?
yeah, we don't have any enemies. We deal with love, right? Ashok, and there's no thing as spiritual money. So I know what you mean in terms of doing things ethically or morally to, to achieve wealth. But we've got our own stuff. We've got a lot of wealth. We just don't know, or like work together or come together in love and unity. And I mean, yeah, you can make money from crypto, but like anything else, I mean, if we want to start saying using the devil's stuff, then you're going to have to, unless you can replace it with your own stuff, then everything you pretty much do, like, are you going to stop using transportation? Are you going to stop using the roads? Are you going to stop using the hospitals? That's the ultimate aim. And that's why we have our own communities and build communities, so that we can, because nobody really knows us as we know ourselves. But we have to constantly remind people that this is not a black thing, and it's not a separatist or separation thing, and we're not trying to be like, do to others what they did to us, because then we just become, if we do what the devil did, we become the devil. So we got to work together, find ways of being self-sufficient. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad and all the great leaders taught. And other races do it as well, you know, do for self, you know, like build. We are builders. We built the pyramids and we built communities. We built we civilized everybody else. We're the civilizers. So the richest by far with all the resources, you know, Africa's got all the resources that built the wealth of the West, you know, gold, platinum. And most of what has been stolen or taken from Africa is literally like less than 10% of what is still there and available. So, you know, we just need to organize, come together, work together, build for, you know, watch. It's like the movie Black Panther. We're like the Wakanda. So, you know, but I got another caller, so let me just interrupt and take this. Hey, Rahul Bat, Kalimonk, how you doing?
Rahul Bat.
Rahul Bat.
I'm okay, man. I'm back here in Los Angeles, and my chest is hurting because of the poor air quality.
Oh man,
you know what I mean? I think that they're doing this on purpose, man. They're trying to lower our population because they have their agendas or whatever. But like you said, we don't live in fear. We have our own agendas, and
100%.
we're gonna survive. Yeah, we're gonna survive. So my question to you is, what is your whole thought about the cloning situation? Because I was thinking, like, how come the master teacher didn't clone himself so he can still be out here? Because we miss him. We are missing so much.
What?
I've been studying the master teacher for a while, and we just need him so bad out here, man. We just need his presence, and it's just like they knew what they were doing by taking him away from us, man. And it's just like we just need him so much right now. So, what do you think about the cloning thing?
Yeah, there are no shortcuts. He's unique. He's who he is. And if you study cloning, remember, he was the first one to really go deep into the cloning thing. If you go back to the man from Planet Risk, he explained about cloning. He explained in even like the Holy Tablets, you know, he was telling you about Ra-El and, you know, the society, Clone Aid. They were cloning many years ago. The sheep, Dolly, you know, they've been cloning for a long time to the point where now you don't know who's a clone from who is real. And he warned us of this. Many celebrities now have clones. You know, there's talk about, you know, I don't know if you've seen the latest Bad Boy with Will Smith and what's that?
Yeah.
Martin Lawrence.
Yeah.
Apparently,
they have clones in Brazil.
Yeah, they said that he passed away and his family were aware and they signed agreements to clone him and stuff. But obviously, people have to do their own research. I'm just trying to say, like, there are people that you see, celebrities, that people are like, they're in one state and they're in another state at the same time performing, you know, doing shows, and, you know, people are catching people like they're glitching and, like, you know, needing reboots and recharges and stuff like that. And, you know, when you look carefully, you know, it's getting to a point where, and the master warned us about this in the Man from Planet Risk book. So when you say cloning, cloning has been a science that's been mastered a long time ago. And when you really think about it, going back to even like, you know, what he was explaining, that the rich people that can afford it, even back then, there was a recording, he was answering a sister's question and he was like, it's not like everybody had a clone, it's like those who needed body parts, right? People that needed body parts and could afford it, you know, because imagine you needed a heart transplant or liver or whatever, and you could afford it. You could use something called cryogenics, which is basically have those organs ready. So, because you hear people that be like, we need a heart, and they got to try and find a match, and then if it's not found in time, they can't make it. So these rich people will have clones for body parts. So when they needed a transplant, it was there ready, and you know, so that's something that has been happening for a very, very long time. The only problem with cryogenics is like you can't do that with the brain. You can only do that with body parts. So if you have, you know, if you haven't got the brain and the brain is completely damaged, then that's not going to work. But yeah, there are many clones now around and cyborgs and all kinds of beings that you don't know who's who anymore on planet Earth. So yeah, you got
Yeah,
to be
yeah,
careful. And now, obviously,
right.
Elon Musk and his robots, I've seen, they're
Yeah,
getting more and more advanced, and they've got AI in them now, and it's just getting to a point where, they tell
right.
you what they're doing in the movies. There was a movie
Yeah,
called Ex
yeah.
Machina that came out many, many years ago. If you ain't seen
Oh,
that,
okay.
yeah. But anyway,
Oh,
go
yeah.
go ahead.
Y'all see that? Yeah, yeah. So that term cryogenics, the first time I heard that was in the movie Demolition Man.
Right there, you
And
go. Yes.
I actually seen it. Yeah, I actually seen it. So they have that technology. They're just not releasing it to the public. The
Oh
public
yeah,
don't
I
know
mean the
about it.
technology that the public has. Remember, when new technology comes out, it's normally, even for you to be able to work on the project. This is why a lot of people have to have security clearance to work in certain departments, and and they're
Wow.
sworn to secrecy because they will try and test it out, and then by the time it's in the public, they're like 6 levels deeper. So the master, again, he explained that to us many years ago. He's like, if you got an iPhone 1 right now, they're already 6 iPhones deep. So, but in
Yeah.
order to make money and milk it, they have to stagnate how they release it to the public. So
Right.
it's like every time you go, oh, there's a new feature with the new iPhones or the new whatever it is, you'll go and get that, and then after like a while, they will release the next one with a few more features, and that just keeps like drip feeding you until you just keep buying and buying and buying. So yeah,
Yeah.
they already have that. They have so much. When we're dealing with extraterrestrials, the level of technology we're talking about is crazy. But to go back to your original
Right.
question, yeah, the master teacher is an original, and instead of us keep talking about things like having a replacement or what happens when he's gone, let's focus on getting him out. That's what we need to do.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Definitely. Okay, brother.
Appreciate
Thank
it.
you, man.
Take
Thank your
care.
answer.
Appreciate love.
All right.
Take care.
What's about?
Wadu.
All right.
All right. Whilst I'm waiting for the next call, let's go on the chat. Dion Fuller, the first question. Rahul Azamar, can you break down how Visa ties into 666? I understand the VI, but I didn't get the S and the A. Okay. From Fayetteville. Okay, so yes, so the S it ties in because of sigma, and you have to research sigma, and the A is the numerical value of the from the abjad system, ABJAD. The abjad system is where letters have numerical values attached to them, and A would be a 6. All right, yeah, we've got a call, so. Join the Telegram group, everyone, if you haven't done so, because that's where we continue and give you more detail. Hey, Rahubat caller, what's your name, where you calling from, and what's your question, please?
Hey, brother, it's me, Sakat, again from Arizona.
Hey, Rahubat.
My question is, who exactly is Malachi Z. York, spiritually, not just in his physical form? And I've also heard he is Tahuti or Tho Ningazira, Anunnaki or whatnot. Is this? Oh, I'm sorry. One last question. I'll let you go. I'm sorry.
No, it's all right.
I read the Emerald Tablet of Thoth, and he explains he had a teacher named the Dweller, and that's all. Thank you, brother.
Okay. Right. Tawa. So, again, there's a lot of confusion around who he is, and spiritually, he is known as Yanun. That's the being, right? Yanun is the being that it keeps incarnating over many, many, many years and generations as a being that, like for example, he comes every 24,000 years to renew our story and to bring in like this change, the sun cycle. And over different generations, he's known by different titles. So as the brother mentioned, when you say Tahuti, like other people, like the Greeks will refer to him as Hermes, right? Trismegistus, for example, or Thoth, which is from the word thought, because he's pretty much the writer of most of the information on the planet, and he's actually put out the sacred wisdom of Tahuti, right, which goes into great detail, and when you see or hear other people saying other stuff, it doesn't necessarily, like for example, people will read the Emerald Tablets, and there are many versions of the Emerald Tablets today, and not all of them are going to be accurate or authentic. So he's known by many titles because names are actually titles. And all right, let me just read a little bit of the introduction from the Sacred Wisdom of Tahuti by the Grand Hierophant Tahuti. So it says, I, the Supreme Grand Hierophant of the ancient Egyptian order, take great pleasure in presenting this corrected document of a most misunderstood and underappreciated doctrine. It was presented as the Kabbalion. This is where people get into the Kabbalion and they don't really know the origins come from Tahuti, when in fact it was a very poor interpretation by the Hyksos. So when we say Hyksos, that's the Hyksos dynasty or the Canaanites, of what they wish the great Grand Hierophant Tahuti's thoughts works for the world were about. And the onlookers were misinformed in order to sway the true seeker from the right path to the blinding light of European belief systems, and the secret doctrines were all but lost. However, this scroll work is based upon the resurrection of the world-old teachings of the Egyptian Grand Hierophant, known by many names. Tahuti presented to you in this day and time via an incarnation, a wish on the part of the original to have the record set straight, sent it and signified it through myself, right? This is the bit I really want you to pay attention to. I have been known by many names: Amanubi, Rakpata, Isa al-Hadi al-Makti, al-Muklas, al-Mujadid, Ila Mutajassida, al-Kubt, Melchizedek, al-Qadir, Marduk, Chief Black Eagle, Malachi. But finally back to Amun, Nebu, Re, Akta. In all of the depictions and drawings of Tahuti on the walls of tombs and monuments in Tamaray, Egypt, you see Tahuti drawn with a green hue, which is what the Muslims refer to as al-Khadir. Again, stemming from ancient Egypt, they are all the same with different names in different cultures. I am who I am. Originally named either Zehuti or Zehuti by the Tamare at the Egyptians, Tahuti, Thoth, right, was Thoth was given his better known name by the Greeks. They linked him with their own god, Theos, deity, supreme being, Hermes, Greek. He becomes the son of Zeus and Maya, and Zeus was the son of Cronus and Rhea. None of this is true. They just took the Egyptian and tried to make him theirs and change his teachings. And this Hermes was considered to be the Greek Theos, deity, God, supreme, beings of wisdom, writing and invention to the Greeks. They get their word Theos from the Egyptian supreme being Theoris or Theoris, a goddess of women in childbirth, protectress of babies. This is the word used in your Bible, New Testament, in the Greek for God. Tahuti was also the messenger and spokesman of the Netirat, or the Natharu as we say today, right? As Tahuti, and finally a lunar Neter, supreme being under the sun god Re or Ra. You can see the Greek word Theos came from the hieroglyph word Tahuti or Thoth. And it goes on. There's a lot of information, but so as the spiritual beings really Yanun, but as he incarnates over time in different cultures, he gets known or given different renditions for who he is. I hope that answered that question. Okay, let's keep going on the chat. Joseph Prince Aka, you are the man. I look to you for my enlightenment. Your endarkenment. You helped me, you helped my looking glass, made me see the truth about the master teacher and the teachers. Oh, we're just getting started. But yeah, let me take this call and we'll come back to that. Hey, Rahubat, brother calling. What's your name and where you calling from? What's your question?
Rahubat, great teacher. Thank you so much. It's an honor for me to be in your presence and come and ask a question.
You're making me blush.
My name is Matt. No.
We're all teachers and the teacher's the master teacher. But I appreciate love what you're saying. Go ahead.
You know, it's like we've been in the winter for like how many years, and all of a sudden the sun is just coming to us, and we just feeling the sun. We just started to feel like ourselves. So not to waste your time, because I know you've got a lot to do. My question actually is, I'm calling from London and my name is Martin.
Okay. Martin.
Yeah. So I was born in Zimbabwe. So being born in Zimbabwe, we were brought in Christianity, like we know Yahweh and everything. Yeah. So there's a lot that I had. Yeah. So for me, yes, growing up, I had a lot of interest of everything, especially the relationship between Yahweh and the Egypt and everything. So for the past years, when I was at university, and I actually found myself having access to all this information and all these books. So I've been trying to really understand and see and what's going on. But most of the work that has been done by you and the great master teacher has been absolutely amazing. But my question where I got stuck is like, you've explained everything, and it's like there's a group of people from Zimbabwe called Bantu people. Right. So what I want to, there's a lot that you mentioned that has been mentioned. We've been taught about the Yakub and the Yahweh God. What I wanted to understand exactly about, because if you look at Africa in what way, we've got a lot of different tribes and everything, but we're not actually really united. It's like we all go in different directions. Right. And then there's Christianity, then we get lost there. So my point, what I wanted to understand exactly is that Bantu people, where do we actually look and say, okay, this is where we are going, to be able to understand, not to fall into the wrong direction.
Yeah, got you. All right, so that's why we keep, I mean, it is very simple, but at the same time, it's a complex subject. We keep telling everybody the umbrella to all come under is Wu-Sabat. And that's, you can go to any part of Africa. In Nigeria alone, you know, there are lots and lots of tribes and so many languages, and you know, like you said, then you have the European and the Arabs influence where the religion came in, because the religion literally was what blinded a lot of people, and you know, that's worldwide, because it was actually done on purpose, because you got two things, you got facts and you got faith. And what happened is we had facts first. We used to deal with knowledge and knowing, and you know, you can see the word knowledge has no at the beginning of it. The word belief, which deals with having faith or belief in something that you can't prove or that hasn't been proven, then you get led into a situation where anybody can tell you anything, and all you have to do is believe and they will accept you. And so yeah, Wu-Sabat is the way, because it takes us back to the roots, because we go back beyond what people are calling the tribes in Africa. Like, if you ask people in Africa, no matter what tribe it is, where's your origin? It will end up back into pre-dynastic Egypt. And remember, before the land was even cut up and divided up and different names attributed to it, it was all one land. And that's where our ancestors came from the waters onto land from. So everybody ties right back to who we're talking about as the Pataites. So we have to go back to the beginning and start there, because then no one can claim and say, let's follow my language, let's follow my traditions, let's follow what we do, because there's just going to be more divisions and fights amongst each other, because you know, everybody wants their language and their culture and their way that they're following to be the one. So Wu-Sabat brings us all back to the one umbrella where all people come from on this planet. All right, next question, Rahubat. What's your name, where you're calling from, and what's your question, please?
All right, Ubat, how are you?
Doing my best. How are you?
I am great. It's good to hear your voice. My name is Myron Moore, and I am from Birmingham, Alabama, in the United States. And first, I just would like to say I appreciate everything that you and your brethren are doing. The information is very solid. Not only that, it's very infectious. I do want to ask you one question, and I actually have just a little patience with me because I want to explain something to you that has been a anomaly. I said that wrong. A anomaly that has been happening to me since I was a little boy. And I think the last occurrence I had was back in 2017. If you would allow me, I'm going to explain this as quickly as I can, but I want to make sure I touch on certain things. And my only question I can ask now, and you can answer after you hear it, is, what do you think is going on with me, or have you heard anything like this ever occur?
Right.
Okay. So let me begin. So I my first recollection or my first memory of this ever happening, I was in fourth grade, roughly 7, maybe 8 years old. And I remember it was on a very stormy day, and I was in Chicago, Illinois. I was coming home from school on a school bus. And I remember I used to be very rambunctious, but on this particular day, I was very quiet. I was very succinct. And I remember sitting at my window in the school bus, gazing out my window. And of course, there was a big storm going on in the area. And there was a bunch of clouds in the sky, lots of lightning, lots of thunder. But I remember falling into this gaze, okay? And I remember having this feeling overcome me. And I felt like maybe, I think now that I think back now, it was my intuition that was speaking to me. But as a young boy, this overcoming feeling of something was about to happen came over me. All of a sudden, within inches from my face, right outside of the glass of the bus, a large lightning bolt struck directly in front of my face. I could see the width of the bolt, and if I could have reached out and just touched it with my hand, it was that close to me. But it happened in a millisecond. There were some children on the bus that actually saw when it actually struck at that particular time. And like I said, I had this feeling that overcame me that something was about to happen. Now, from that point moving forward, I've had vague memories of lightning bolts striking directly next to me that have occurred in my past as I grew. But because the moment would happen so fast within milliseconds, it was easy for me to get until it happened again. And then I would remember, hey, I've had this happen to me throughout life. Now, let me skip up into 2017, okay? So as I said, throughout my life, this has been happening, right? I would always have lightning bolts strike directly next to my body within a close proximity range where I could touch it with my hand if I knew it were coming. That's how close it was. But it has never, ever struck me or never, ever harmed me. And I've always had an overcoming feeling that something was about to happen. Now, as an older man, I want to tell you about the last 2 incidents that I had happen with this, and they were very prevalent. Okay, so the first to the last incident that I had in Alabama, was back in 2017. I was standing on the porch, on my grandmother's porch. Okay, she has 3 steps that comes up to her porch, and then at the base, at the first step, is the actual roof of the ceiling, the roof of the house that meets the first step. If you were to look at the house, right? I was standing at the top of the 3rd step. And throughout the day, it had been thunderstorming. It had been raining. There had been a lot of activity in the sky. But I remember standing there at the top of the step, looking at this enormous cloud above my house. And it was really, really big. And there was a storm that had subsided, right? So I noticed something about this cloud that didn't make sense. I kept seeing all these lights going off in the cloud, lightning. It looked like it was lightning going off in the cloud. But usually when you have lightning, you have thunder. But there was no thunder. There was just a bunch of lightning. And for some reason, the lightning in the cloud, it looked artificial to me. It's something about it didn't look right. Something about it looked fake. And I remember falling into this state where I felt like I was daydreaming for a second. And then that feeling overcame me. I had something come over me, and it started overpowering me, right? And then the next thing I knew, a lightning bolt struck, because lightning comes from the ground up. A lightning bolt struck right in front of me as I stood on the step, enough for me to see a change from light to orange, and it was right there in front of me, and it didn't startle me. So I ran into the house after the bolt struck. My wife came out on the porch, and I stood in front of her. I ran 6 or 7 feet into the house on the inside porch, and I said, "Baby, remember when I told you when I was little that these lightning bolts would strike?" As soon as I said the word strike, another lightning bolt struck, and it was aligned with my body. It followed me from where I was on the outside porch to the inside porch, and it struck as close as it could to the house, aligned with my body as soon as I said the word strike. Right. Now, the very last time this happened, and I'll wrap this up with you so I can get your thoughts, and I would love for you to just tell me what you think.
Sure.
The very last time this happened, I was at my apartment. This must have been a year and a half later. I was at my apartment. I was sitting in my master bedroom with my wife on the bed, right directly next to the window. And my daughter was outside having a smoke break on the porch directly outside my window. It was a thunderstormish day that day. All of a sudden, we heard a loud bang, okay? My daughter ran in the house, and she said, "Dad, a lightning bolt almost struck me." And I was like, "Really? Are you okay?" And she said, "Yeah, remember you told me that happens to you? I wonder if it's happening to me." And I said, "All right, that's interesting." But I said, "Where did it strike?" She said, "It struck right outside your window." And I said, "Wait a minute, what? Outside my window?" That's exactly where I was sitting in my master bedroom when we heard the loud bang. It struck directly at me right outside my window, as close as it can get to me. But they never, ever harm me. I don't know if it's something innate within me. I don't know if there's some type of communication that's that's been trying to reach me since I was a child. I don't know what it is. What do you think?
Okay, let me address it for you. I was just gonna say there's probably haters like waiting in the chat and waiting, trying to call like this brother's taking so long. Let's get to the question.
I had to explain it to you.
No, I got you. Maybe you're supposed to be the new Black Flash. No, I'm joking. Seriously though, the okay, so people's personal experiences are really their personal experiences, and we do get a lot of people calling us, asking us about, "I had this experience, I had that experience, can you explain it?" Or "I had this dream," and we always say to them, we're not those types of, people in churches who be like, we would probably be millionaires if we were like gonna sound, "Oh, I can interpret your dream and tell you what happened to you." So we say, look, your experience is your experience. However, you definitely, in terms of what you were saying about the lightning in the clouds, the master teacher wrote books years ago called Mystery Clouds. Are there UFOs in your midst? And another one, quite a few, but he was explaining, and you got it right when you said, because most people don't study lightning to see what causes lightning, why does it occur, what's the sound that it makes, what color is the flash, many things to do with actually lightning. Just like we say, study meteorites, study certain things. So when somebody's telling you this is actually this, you're like, no, but meteorites don't behave like that. They don't give that color. They don't change their trajectory. I'm saying that to say that there are many crafts, extraterrestrial crafts, and in the skies that they have those lights, and there are wars that are going on. right, between different extraterrestrials, in the skies, on the planet, in the seas, pretty much everywhere as it is on the planet, with wars happening mentally, spiritually, physically. So it seems like, you definitely have some kind of connection with lightning. And in ancient times, we have many deities in terms of nature that are, connected with different types of phenomena in nature, like we would say Shu, which deals with, the air, or Tefnut, which deals with moisture, or, Ra deals with the sun. So I think the more you start to study and to learn about yourself by way of Wu-Sabat and the information that the master teacher has put out, you will learn and get to know more about yourself and what, powers or gifts more appropriately you may have. But definitely the thunders and the clouds, that's extraterrestrial crafts that use the cloud to kind of cloak themselves or hide themselves, or like, so people can't.
Do you think something's following me? Has been following me since I was a child?
It's possible, because what these extraterrestrials can do is, because again, many people that have had different experiences with extraterrestrials, they get, what do you call, like probes, and they get like little chips and things put in them so they can follow them and monitor them. Some may even have some kind of relationship or connection with them, because you do have, and they've also shown you this depicted in movies, you do have people, extraterrestrials, that have come and had sexual relationships with humans and have produced, offspring that are on the planet. The case of the Jesus story in the Bible, for example, where he was, caught between two worlds. And a lot of people don't understand this, but even in Genesis 6:4, when it talks about Nephilims and these beings coming down and having, it tells you they basically had, sexual relationships with the females and produce offspring. And to be able to do that means that the DNA has to match. So none of what you're saying is like what people. Some people will look at certain things like, oh, you're crazy, you're loopy, or whatever, if they've not had the experience.
Yeah.
But everybody has many different types of experience. It's just that within the society and religion, you haven't been given the platform or the comfortability to be able to express yourself and talk about these things, because
Right.
you're made to feel like there's something wrong with you, when they just can't explain what's going on. So Wu-Sabat is very familiar with all these types of things and stories, and nothing's really a surprise to us, because remember, when our master teacher came on the scene, a lot of what he was saying, to some people, they were thinking, this is mad, this is crazy, but to others, it just, like myself, it just hit home. It was so real. It just was so,
Right.
I just knew that you didn't have to tell me anything, and it just led me to the journey of wanting to know more, and
Same here.
studying and reading, and it's the same when I speak to a lot of people, because there are people on the planet who are the descendants or children of these the ancient ones, and the time has come back around where they're getting reactivated, and people are calling it an awakening. They're calling it a consciousness. They're calling it ascension. They're using all these names to explain the phenomena that's going on, which is you're waking back up to who you really are. And Wu-Sabat is here to help facilitate. And don't get me wrong, there's some people out there that they take all kinds of drugs or psychedelics or this and that. They may have certain experiences, but you genuinely can tell when someone is being truthful about the experience. But at the end of the day, it is your experience, and in time you will find out and know, especially if you happen to be able to be in front of the master or have the opportunity to be around him, and he would just tell you. So
Right.
I would say, yeah, get involved, get your discipline together, start studying, and come close to Wu-Sabat and just keep studying.
Thank you.
You're welcome. All right.
Thank you.
I'm gonna move on because there are lots of people waiting, but yeah.
I know.
Thanks for
Take
your
care,
call.
man. I appreciate you.
Likewise, take care, Wadu. Right, let's get back to some of these questions. That might probably be one of the longest time we've given a call, right? Yeah. All right, so that means I'm going to have to shoot through these quite quickly. Hey, thanks, Joseph Prince. I'm forever grateful. I'm of mixed race. This is from D. Shelton. I'm of mixed race due to slavery. Do the overseers view me as 9 ether and as I just sent it off the original? Yes, you are 9 ether, but at the same time, it's what do you view yourself as? Because a lot of the time when people say that they are mixed, pretty much everybody on the planet is mixed now, right? So the mixture is which mix do you relate more to? Like, how do you identify? Because you may have a mixture between, say, a Nagaru or what we call a Negroid and let's say, a Caucasian. And the DNA is going to be between those two plus yourself, right? So do you find yourself more, identifying with one side or the other more? Which one is dominant? Which one is, if we talk about dominance in terms of genetic or scientific or to deal with DNA or melanin and things like that, of course, the Negroid side is going to be dominant because that's the dominant trait. However, you could have those two sides and be more inclined to do the things that the Caucasian side would do. So you would then shift your alignment more to that side. So it's really down to you which side you shift to. But like I said, if you're dealing with it from genetics, then your dominant side is always going to be the nine ether side. Okay, got another caller. Greetings, caller. What's your name? Where you calling from? And what's your question, please?
Brother, it's Sakat again from Arizona. 2 questions. Hopefully I don't butcher his name, but Yanun, who's known as Dr. Kai. Okay, and who's his teacher? And second question, is he a emissary, or as people would today say, an angel? But the reason why I say emissary is because in the tablets it refers to as ascended beings as an emissary once you reach one of the highest levels. Got you. Thank you, brother.
Yeah, welcome. What's the first part? What was the first part?
The first part was, who is Yanun's teacher?
Okay, thank you. Cool, right, thank you. So when you ascend to a certain level or elevate it to a certain point, it's a collective. So he's a part of many councils. So the Council of 9, or in the Bible, they will talk about the 24 elders, right? So when you become a union, and this is pretty much what we're being taught, how to become one and to move as one. So these higher beings, they're not like, how the structures that we would have here. So they work in like I said, in a council, or they all work together, they all share. So he's part of the Council of 9, or part of what people call the 24 elders. So they all work together in unison, all right? And the second part was, yes, in terms of what you're trying to explain, remember, you have to use terms that people know or familiar with. So you have to meet people on the level that they're at. So if you were coming from a religious point of view, and especially from the Bible, that term would be angel, right? In Greek, angelos. But the angels have different titles or different names. So if you wanted to use that, he would be known as the angel Michael. He's the being that's referred to as the archangel or the angel Michael. But then if you went to another culture, he would be known, but to us now, he would be what you would call an avatar, right? Or someone that is able to be, is channeled, and he receives downloads or outformation from, as I said, the other beings, like he's a part of, like the Parnatharu, who will then, or any being that has ascended, like most of the leaders that have taught on this planet, when you're dealing with the elders, like, you know, people that might say Yeshua or Sanenda, or they might talk about, you know, other beings, even down to the ones we're familiar with, like people like Malcolm X, Martin Luther King, the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. There were people that, even Noble Jew Ali, that he was still able to receive their information. They spoke to him and asked him to set the record straight on, because what happens is a lot of the time when these leaders or these teachers, they move on or cross over or pass on, other people try to imitate them or become them, or it might be their son, in the sense of like Jesus with his son Bar Jesus, and they try to teach a different doctrine or take people in a different way or come up with a new thing. The same with, you know, Wallace, in terms of the Honorable Elijah Muhammad. You can name many leaders. So he's able to not be possessed, because this is something that people try to use and say, oh, he's possessed because he has all these different beings in him. No, as an avatar, or someone that in the Arabic we would say ila mutajasid, which means that you're able to channel. And so many beings whom he has to allow or accept. It's not that anybody can speak through him, right? So yes, in that case, yeah, he's able to be what people call angel. In Arabic, he's referred to as Al-Qadir, the green one. In ancient Sumeria, in that doctrine, he would have been referred to as Marduk or Murdoch. And, you know, depending on which culture, which society, he's known by different names or different titles. We already talked about him being known as Tahuti. Is someone waiting? Oh, let me take that. I didn't realize. Okay, right about caller. What's your name? Where you calling from? What's your
I'm
question?
calling from Canada. My name's Rosalind.
Hey, Rosalind.
Hi, thank you. My question is, the barytary gland you speak about, is that what else pronounced? Okay.
Yeah.
So you're saying that people have been, it's been removed. Is that everybody's? It's been removed from all the people? And that's my first question. And my second question is, if that's the case, if it's not the case, as far as the people that do, let's say, mediumship, they say they're readers, and I know that high government and higher up people use psychics to do certain things. They touch objects and they can see things like the. So who are the people that it's been removed? And if these people that are in these positions, does it mean that they're higher beings? Are they like, you know, more heart orientated souls? Like, is there some sort of clarification? Like, does it mean anybody can reach these levels? And why is it that the people that, like we're talking about the Naturu, or the ones that are working now, trying to get to a place where they can get their gland put back in. So why is there a group that doesn't have it, and if you know, and there's a group that does have it? And
okay, I got you. All right. Thanks. Right. So not everybody has it, or not everybody had it, and some people do have it, and if they have it, some won't even know or realize they have it. Now, in terms of when you say bara, right? Remember the word bara is what the original name of what people are calling Genesis, from the Hebrew barashith. Bara just means to recreate or create, right? So the root word kind of ties into barathri gland. The barathri or barathri gland, even though it was surgically removed, it's the way it was removed. It's like they had to do it in a certain way to not damage the nerve endings, all right? And if people want to know and say, oh, how do we know it exists? The master explained this many years ago. It's like when you look at the way, let's say, you know, you have a socket, and something is inside of it, right? Like this. When you remove it, you had to be careful not to damage where it was situated, and remnants of it was left when it was removed. And when you look at a brain in terms of if you were to cut it in a particular way, you would look at other sections that have the same type of socket, if I could use that, and see that there was something in it, and then there's one here that you see that something is missing. And how it happened is that it's like if I broke my arm or my leg today, and even though it was fixed back, the bone where it was broken would be different. And so it wouldn't be the same. So if I had an offspring or a child, their hand will look okay, but at that particular point where, due to DNA, where I broke my arm or leg, theirs may be slightly weaker. I'm just saying that to say in terms of that over generations, then we lost the ability, but because of those remnants, you still are able to, not consistently at will, but you're able to still tap into the abilities that having that gland gave you. And this ties into what we call your 4 higher senses: telepathy, intuition, clairvoyance, and psychometry. So some people still have randomly the ability to use it, and as you start to develop yourself, you may get more ability or connection to those higher senses. And in addition to that, there are people generally who have certain gifts by way of DNA or genetics, or their family line may have had those powers. And so when you're talking about people that have, like psychics and the ability to, some people have the ability to remote view or to, do certain things like, you get people all the time, they'll be like, every time I dream something, it happens, it comes to pass. Or I might just intuition, like the brother that called earlier, he was saying that, he had intuition, something's about to happen, and then it does. So, the question was quite long. So there are people who just have gifts that, people like, as you said, the governments or other people utilize them to help them in situations. Some people have been using technology, for example, like the things that, Elon Musk is doing with, he's got, some neural company that deals with putting chips in the brain now. This is something, again, a master teacher taught us many years ago. So, you can now have chips inserted into you that give you many, many abilities. Now, as to who will get it put back, that's down to you being able to prove your worthiness. It's like, if with great power comes great responsibility. So, if Superman was the kind of person that just went around showing everybody, oh, I'm Superman, give me $5 and, levitating, he wouldn't be given that power. So it's like he had to disguise himself as Clark Kent and only really use the power when necessary, not abuse or misuse it. It's the same thing with, I'm just using that as an example because, having the ability to do certain things, you have to be responsible with it. Just like these extraterrestrials that give technology to humans, as much as they want to help, some of them, not all of them, want to help us elevate and ascend and become a part of the, the galactical community. There are men or humans that are barbarians, to put it lightly, and they will misuse the power to the point where they could actually end up destroying the same beings that have given them the technology. Case in point, the atomic bombs, with Nagasaki and Hiroshima. And even then, we're still today at that state where we're still talking about wars and nuclear weapons. Like, they're looking at us like, have you guys not learned anything? So in order to be worthy to receive this power, you have to learn how to discipline yourself. You have to learn how to deal with humanity, how to deal with people. You know, you still have people fighting over religion and fighting over land and things that, you know, a smart, elevated being, mentally, intelligently, would not be doing. So these are the things where you have to prove yourself worthy to receive your gland put back. And only the elders that are going to give it or reinsert it will know if you're worthy, because it's not about lip service. It's not about you just saying it. They can read your matrix. They can read your energy, your aura, your intentions, your mind, to know if you have the compassion, the love, which we call divine love or unconditional love, ashuk. They know who is ready. So you can't fool anyone. This is not a religion where you get dipped in water and all of again you're spiritual when you're born again. No, you have to really be real with this, and that's what Wu-Sabat is here to teach you. We've got another caller?
This person's at work, but they've sent in a question.
Okay.
They said, when Russia invaded Ukraine, there was a Z/Z on all their war tanks. Everything had a Z on them. He wants to know if it's the same Z Ken was talking about in a previous video.
Wow, yeah, good question. And like I said, again, if you watch the movie World War Z, it's no coincidence. You have to remember, marketing, media, or like when people put things out, it's not by coincidence. Sometimes it's signs, symbols for people. The Z, if you look at it, it was in red for, you know, red ties into the blood, it ties into lust, you know, bloodlusting beings. The Z, Zeta, right? When you're dealing with the beings from Zeta, the Z is also like a S if you really look at it, which ties into the serpent people from Zeta Reticuli, which is, yeah, you the more you look into it, you look at Superman had the S on his chest. You look at that serpent people, you look at people who hiss and whisper, because that's one of the ways of, you know, we say that Chinese whispers, for example. Look at snakes, and what do snakes do? Not that snakes are bad, because in ancient Egypt we use snakes, but I'm talking about those reptilian beings that tie into what we're talking about. Thin lips, just look at the features, you know. So yeah, that Z, it goes into a lot. It ties into these beings, as I said, that really pushed religion. It ties into the Luciferian conspiracy, and you know, those are the ones that really gave us religion. And these beings that the Pleiadians, these are the beings that they really brought religion to, you know, because that's a form of control. And that's when you tie into the religions, you start to see all the prominent like leaders or religious people on the planet, they always have a foundation in religion. And religion literally phonetically ties into relying on the jinn. A jinn in, you know, Arabic or in Islam is this embodied spirit, disagreeable beings. And Jan was their leader. So, you know, there are levels, but yeah, the brother's right for picking that up. And it's good because sometimes I may say something on the video, touch on it, and I leave it. And maybe because I get distracted or I move on to something else and I don't actually finish it. So yeah, I haven't actually seen that video. I think it's the one, is it from the Valentine's Day video? I mean, yeah, it is.
Yeah, World War Z with the red.
Yeah. So if you have, I ain't even seen the Valentine's video, yeah. So I'm gonna watch it today after this show. So yeah, tune into the Valentine's video and you can help us, like it, share it. But yeah, I think that's when I touched on it, but I didn't really go into the details. So yeah, it's always good to pay attention. Hey, caller, Rahul back. I think there's another caller coming through at the same time. 1 second. Okay, Rahul back is, yeah. What's your name, where you calling from, and what's your question, please?
Hello, my name is Jason. I'm calling from Virginia in the USA.
Yeah, Rahul back. Greetings.
Yes. So I had about two. My first question is, what is the relationship that we should have with the Anunnaki? From the beginning, from what has been told to us, you know, they kind of made us to be slaves to work as miners for the resources that they wanted. And throughout time, they've also done some good things, you could say. So, what is the type of at this point? What is the kind of relationship that we are supposed to have? How are we supposed to view them? Are they friends? Are they foes? Is it adversarial? What is the relationship between us, the descendants, and them?
Right. The first thing is this us and we, right? Not everybody is tied to the Anunnaki, because people will make statements like they made us and we are no, not everybody. You're dealing with Anunnaki who came at a specific point in time. But when they came, there were already people here, as I keep explaining, that our ancestors, by way of the original beings that came to this planet first upon the Tharu, they evolved. And when the Anunnaki came, they took a primitive worker, or that which was already existing, and then upgraded it by adding their genetics. And there were many beings during that time that were also creating different beings. And this is where many experiments were taking place with genetics. And they were trying to, create a being to help them mine the gold, because obviously they found the atmosphere and the whole work tedious, and they didn't like it. And obviously the brothers, Enki and Enlil, started to get into, so they got into conflicts and so on. And this is where that same conflict has been going on for generations, and you got two sides constantly fighting each other by way of brothers, and depending on which culture you go to, we can see this playing out. Now, so when people get to know about the Anunnaki story, and it's explained that they came and they created primitive worker known as the Lulu Amilu, and then they just give you their story, but and then it ties into the Babylonians and the beings that follow them. And then this is where Abraham comes in, because Abraham, with his father Terah, who were really Zoroastrians, they worship Zoroaster, where the word Astar comes from the word star, and they go into what they call really sun and moon worship. And that goes all the way into today in religions, where you have religions that have a 6-pointed star, or they have a 5-pointed star with a crescent, which both tie into sun and moon worship, ties into Islam and the moon worship and the sun worship, because without the sun, they won't know when to do their salah or prayers, right? But all of that was also taken from ancient Egypt, which actually predates the Sumerians and the Anunnaki. So not everyone on the planet has descendancy with the Anunnaki. And when you say Anunnaki, you have to remember there were different beings. It just describes the beings that Anu sent to Earth in groups of 50s, because that's what the crafts that they came in, the capacity of the amount of people they could carry were 50. So the word Na in the Anunnaki literally means 50. The word Ki or Gi, where you get the word Geo or Gia or Gaia, which everybody refers to as the planet, that's where you get the word Ki. Ki was one of the names of the planet. That's how you get all like your geology and your geography and anything that begins with because Ki was originally QI, but it's also pronounced Ki because of phonetics, Ki. So you see Anunnaki spelled Anunaqi or Ki. And that the Ki, Qi, became a Gi, became Geo, or Gaia, and that was, but the planet has been known by many names: Terra, Ard, Melanin, Tamat. Depending on which period of time and how far back you're going, the planet will have different names. So Anunnaki was just dealing with Anu, being of the highest. That's how it's translated that. In the Greek, it's spelled A-N-O, Anu, instead of ANU, because again, when you study Semitic or Shemitic languages, you'll find out that the vowels can be interchangeable. So Anu, ANU, sorry, is the one that was ruler over the Anunnaki, or the Most High. And in the Bible in English is also translated as the Most High. So when people get to a point where they learn about these names in the Bible, like God, Yahweh, I don't know, Adonai, etc., they're like, okay, I don't want to use those names no more, so I would just say the Most High. But you ask them, well, who is the Most High? Where did you get that from? It's because of that translation of Anu being the Most High of the Sumerian doctrine. And the Bible are plagiarized from those Anunnaki or Sumerian tablets, the Enuma Elish, the Gilgamesh epics, and the many Sumerian tablets, and they keep finding more, but not all of them are made public. A lot of them were destroyed during the war on terror in Iraq, because Iraq is ancient Babylon. That's where a lot of this was taking place, and they were finding these tablets and don't want the world to know about the true stories, because it started to give you a clear distinction between the bloodlines and the DNA of, you know, the Sumerians to the biblical texts, and how they've been grafted from these tablets. Like I said, the Enuma Elish, Gilgamesh epics, Atrahasis, and the many Akkadian tablets. But they don't want everyone to know the truth. So what we're saying is, later on, you had, when Enki was on the planet, which is one of the sons of Anu, his brother being Enlil, that really they had the conflicts with. And we can go into detail why they had the conflicts, but this is where he took wives from, you know, Africa, or the beings that were already here. As I said, the original, those Neolithic Pataites that, you know, goes back way past the dynasties that you're taught about in Egypt, you know, going back to those little people. And he mixed in with them and produced offspring. So there are people on the planet who may originate from Enki and his mixture with the original Africans, or these beings that were here way before from Natharu. So you have the seed of the Natharu, you have the seed of the Anunnaki, and then you have other extraterrestrial beings that came and also genetically, you know, grafted beings, you know. And so depends who you are on the planet. When you say we and how we came about, you have to realize the anthropologists, they tried to figure out where did we all come from, because the biblical account doesn't make sense that there were only two people on the planet, Adam and Eve, and, you know, they had children, Cain and Abel. Cain kills Abel. There's only supposed to be three people on the planet by this time, if one of them has been unalived. So where do the rest of the people come from? And how do you get the different blood types and the different complexions and the different... So they tried to figure this out. Originally it was taught that everybody came from Adam and Eve. But with scientific proof, that has been proven wrong. So now they're telling you about, you know, the oldest fossils and the oldest DNAs and who came from where and when they started. And they give you now the three root races, Homo naledi or habilis being the African. Then you get the Denisovan or the Homo florensis, which is dealing with the Caucasians. And then finally you have the Neanderthal or the Cro-Magnon, which deals with the Caucasian. And then you can see how the mixtures produce offspring. And then you have extraterrestrials coming and messing with those beings and producing hybrids of all kinds. And now it's even getting worse with AI and robots and cyborgs and all types of beings on the planet. So it literally depends on who you are, what's your descendancy, and where do you go back to. And you will know pretty much based on who or what you gravitate to. Now, some people end up in the wrong camps. You know, it's like, you know, let's say for simplicity, this camp is for good people, this camp is for bad people. I know you can loosely define good and bad as being subjective, right? But let's just say that's how it was originally. It was peaceful, no chaos, no wars, no fighting, no diseases. And this was known as Nupu, right? The green zone. Then you have beings that come down here, and they weren't supposed to, but they came through the, the gates or the portals, come down here, mix with those beings, produce offspring. Their nature, I'm talking about the Nephilims, or you can call the giants and the beings that came down, mix with those beings, produce an offspring that was now their nature, which was more disagreeable and violent, chaos. And then they tried to separate the two by creating another zone called Zupu, where they were supposed to reside. But again, being disagreeable, they didn't want to be restricted or quarantined. So they started to mix. So you get beings that are not supposed to be. It's like much like today. You might be someone that wants to live peacefully, want to be, in harmony and no problems, no chaos. But then you have other beings that behave and act and live that way. And you don't want to be around them or be amongst them. And, this is what the confusion comes in, because everyone's like in the wrong places or mixed up. So now the time has come again when 6 ether forces, which deals with disagreeable wars, killings, murders, chaos, diseases, the list goes on and on and on. They have been ruling for the last 6,000 years up until the year 2000. When we say ruling in whatever form you want to look at it, as in, mentally, etherically, and that's by influence, as in the majority of people being beguiled or following the wrong ways, doing the wrong things, doing things that you're not naturally supposed to do. Because it's like, you ask somebody, why do you drink cow's milk? Are you a cow? They will say no. So why do you drink cow's milk? And you say to them, would you go to a store and buy milk that was labeled human's milk? They'll say no. But you will buy milk that's labeled cow's milk, when cow's milk is for a cow, human milk is for human. That's why your mother breastfeeds you when you're giving birth to, right? So the point being that somebody went out of their way to convince you, and not only convince you, but to go through a process of making cow's milk consumable by humans, purely because they may want to make money or make profit. And now everybody drinks cow's milk. And you say, does that make sense? Make it make sense. And then you try, and then the problems that come along with that. And it had to take a lot of investment and, to make it so. And I can go on, that's just one example. We can go on like the things we put into our body and why we're sold these things, and, what is it? What's the objective behind it? So I'm basically saying that you have to start to learn about the disagreeable side, the 6 ether forces, and the things you do that don't make sense. And that religion falls into that category: wars, divisions, separations, low vibration, low energy, all of that. Then you got 9 ether, which is pulling you the other way up to, know, research, get facts, eat the right foods, meditate, do the things that feed your spiritual being as well as your physical being. Come together, work together in harmony. No chaos, no wars, peace, And it's like that war, if you want to use that term, is being fought within yourself as well. This is what, it's the real true, what they call jihad. It's the war, the internal war between your agreeable, or some will say your positive side, and the disagreeable, the negative side, because now the mixture means that you have both natures. You have the part of Natharu's nature if you're from their seed, but you've been taught all this disagreeableness from the reptilians, the draconians, and the nature of these negative Anunnaki. Remember, Anunnaki is a description of So there are different types of beings that are agreeable and disagreeable. You see, so Wu-Sabat gives you a 9 ether, 9 mind, 9 consciousness doctrine. And if you resonate with it, you're going to start going, wow, I knew that never made sense. I'm going to stop doing that. I'm going to now fix up, start doing the right thing. And then you start to resonate, your vibration gets higher, your aura changes. You start to move from the people that are negative or giving you stress and the people you don't want to be around and so on and so forth. But, you know, don't want to give a sermon. So let's get back to the questions. I'm going to have to run through, there's so many questions. So let me go through this quickly. I covered that already. You might have went over this before, but where did the master teacher receive his large amount of knowledge? Oh yeah, we kind of covered that already. So he is downloaded, or he's a part of the Council of Nine. He's, you know, part of the elders, and yeah, he receives downloads and by the being called Yanun, who is an extraterrestrial that has over 76 trillion years of knowledge. Okay, let's go quickly. Sir God Blackman, what do you know about Lilith, who's mentioned in the Bible? Is she real? And do women attribute her characteristics? Yes, Lilith is real. Lilith was the first wife of Adam, and they don't really talk about her, but I'm glad you picked her out because she's actually mentioned in the Bible, but they don't really go into her. But yes, she was his first wife. Let's keep going. That was that. Yeah, so yeah, characteristics. Yeah, there are women that attribute her characteristics. Yep. Is Earth unique with having an inner sun living realm or outer sun and living realm, or are other planets like this? There are many planets out there with different what you would consider suns. Even like the master teacher Panda Babyanun, he comes from a planet called Planet Risk, RIZQ, and that has 3 suns. So where we only have 1 sun where, you know, our planet rotates around, on Risk, it has 3 suns, you know, and the orbit of the planet is pretty much like, if you can imagine, something like that. So it goes around 3 suns, right? So at one point you have 3 suns that are shining on a particular side of the planet. And if you know about photosynthesis and how planets, sort of like how nature and the plants and everything grows, then you can imagine that beings will look completely different. The type of things that will be grown will be different just based on the environment that, you know, you're in. And a lot of people who do astral projection and go to different dimensions within certain realms, they actually also encounter or see, you know, different things such as what you've described. But yes, there are so many different realms with different suns, inner suns, etc. All right, let's go. I completely forgot it is Tuesday, so you go. Oh yeah, okay. I hope you're online. Coco Brown 555. Yeah, we're live. Roro, can you speak on seeing blackbirds, crows, or ravens? Are they of the original blackbird creation? Yeah, I mean, again, that's partly programming because they always show you, because they've made black synonymous with dark and evil and all of that. So in movies and things like that, they will show you these crows, and people say that, you know, it's just, you know, death and stuff like that, because it ties into like vultures who, you know, would eat carcasses of dead animals or, you know, beings. But when you say the original blackbird creation, that's, you'd have to give me a reference or expound on that. How do you feel about Trump and Gaza? I mean, we're not really surprised about Trump because, you know, we had the master teacher wrote many books, you know, you know, like I'm talking about these books here, like a long time ago, they're called 666 Leviathan, the Beast as the Antichrist. This is part 2. This is part 1. There are another 2 copies that I don't currently have here. But we're not surprised as Sabians or Nuwapians in terms of who he is, his character, what his mission is, and what he's doing, and you know where he's going. So I wasn't surprised when I heard him saying that, you know, America's going to take over Gaza and they're going to rebuild, and so he can rebuild. They're going to obviously tell you he's going to rebuild the temple and so on and so forth. So how do I feel about it? I mean, how I feel doesn't really matter in the sense that Wu-Sabat, we're about teaching the facts and teaching truth, regardless, about everybody and everything on the planet. So it's not about a feeling thing. We don't really get too emotional and get involved in politics and politricks, and we just teach people the facts and the truth, and we're in a day and time where the new currency is truth. However, a lot of people are, the programming, even when you look at the word program, when you spell it with the double M-E, right? So P-R-O-G-R-A-M-M-E, you can literally see program me. And a lot of people have been programmed. And how? By media, television, TV, tell lies visually, you know, and these lights, these images, they get stored in your conscious and subconscious mind. And they literally control how you think with the media, the advertising, and the, you know, the social media, etc., etc. So a lot of people and then if you study the brain and the neural networks, right? We have an actual fact called neuroscience of wu-nuwapu, right? Which deals with and explains to you that habits are formed through repetition, right? And this becomes what you call an addict, when you do something so much that you find it very hard to stop, because the grooves in your brain are literally, you know, stamped in. So you have to reprogram a lot of the habits, a lot of the things that you've done perhaps all your life without even thinking about it. You know, people say things like, oh my, I don't even have to say the word and you know, Lord, you know, like these words you say every day without even thinking about it, but they're a tone that, excuse me. Sorry, I'm recovering from the last couple of days of, having a bit of being under the weather. But the point I was making is you need to really actively recognize you've been programmed and go, okay, I'm going to take care of this, and start to undo. And Wu-Sabat helps you to do that. So the first thing is to be aware of what's going on, and then start to reprogram yourself. Okay, where was I? Cover that. Where were we? Can you speak? Oh yeah, cover that. Do the Nuwapians associate with the Moors? We associate with everyone, as in the sense of we take people for who they are, not what they've accepted. And as I said, the Moors, that was another one of those titles that some of us have been labeled by, okay? But there's different types of Moors as well. Okay, we've got a call coming in. Rahul back. Caller, what's your name? Where you calling from? What's your question, please?
Robert Saken, my name is Kenyan Mwangi, calling from Nairobi, Kenya.
Rahul back, Kenyan, how you doing?
I'm doing okay, how are you?
Yeah, I'm recovering from a cold, but I'm doing my best. Thank you.
Yeah, you'll get better. My question is coming from like the Valentine's video you did.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I had you talk about February as like a month which was like added, and you said there were 2 of them. I count myself like a person according to my birth certificate. I was born in February. That's why I'm most. I want to know a lot about it.
Okay.
And also, I've been using like my birthday as a way of changing some of my bad habits I've been collecting throughout the year. So, and it's almost near. So I was about to lose another habit this month too.
No, it's fine.
Yes.
You can still do it. What we do, as I said, we give the facts and teach people about things, because a lot of people do things and they're not aware of it. Like, I mean, we decided to do that video because we literally asked somebody, why do you celebrate Valentine's? And they didn't know. And we were like, you know, like, you're doing something, but you don't know why you do it. So we thought, okay, let's give you the facts behind it. But we're not saying that, okay, obviously people are born on that month, right? According to the Gregorian calendar. But you have to remember that any time that if I go now, today, right, we're going to go by the reference that, okay, today's Tuesday, you know, and it's, you know, 2025. But to somebody else in another culture or somewhere else, that's a completely different, you know, date and time and name that they call it. So you have to remember that you have real time and you have fictitious time. Just because somebody says today is Tuesday, well, who gave you the authority to name today Tuesday? And why are you saying today? Why is it called today? So this is the kind of thing that we are bringing people's awareness, like the origins of some of these things that we do. But we're not saying like, you can't now escape the fact that you were labeled to be born on that day. But in natural time, it's based on nature, you know. So we're not saying like, don't do that things, because it's like a marker, isn't it, for you? It's like, on my next birthday, I'm going to do this. I'm going to maybe pass my driver's license on my driving test, or I'm going to, you know, do this. I might go to, whatever it is, it's fine as long as it's positive and it's helping you to, you know, change your habits and elevate. We're not saying don't do that. Just be aware of the calendar and where it originates and the practices that you're celebrating, because celebrating something, you're giving energy to it, and that energy is ultimately going to someone or something, which might not be something you want to do, to give them energy to maybe keep you subjugated, for example. I hope that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, okay. One more thing. Can you maybe talk about a little bit about those months that you are saying were added and something of the sort? And thank you. Yeah.
Yeah. Actually, there are many videos now on TikTok where people are trying to explain to you that why, you know, you get things like leap years and, you know, daylight savings, where you have to put the clock back and put it back forward, and all of that is because, you know, like originally and it's all part of throwing you off time, real time, because most people don't even know what day or time it really is, according to the original way, which is our way. And this is why we have our own we have our own calendars, our own, you know, like days where everything was divided equally, so you don't have to do this leap year and, you know, like I said, moving the days around. And even like I was saying on another video, where we say the new year, everyone's celebrating the new year, but everybody doesn't celebrate the new year at the exact same time. So how can it be a new year in one part of the world or country, but it's not yet a new year in your part of the world? It's like, that obviously should let you know that, because, you know, back in the day when I used to even, you know, entertain it and watch, you know, where that, you know, they'll go through different countries, and Australia, they're celebrating New Year and the fireworks goes off and everything, and then you just wait in different countries, and like, if it's a new year, we're all using the same year at the same time, everyone should start off at the same time, right? But it's not, because of the fact that time has been messed about. So this is where you get the added months. And you know, someone did a TikTok video that actually showed you that I can't remember the formula that they used, but they actually showed you how the years the months were missing, and then they just basically added it up. It's all to do with how the Gregorian calendar was put together, but we can give you more information because we're literally running out of time, and I want to get through so many chats, and we can give you more information in the Telegram group. Everyone on now, right now, we've got, I think, over 200 and something people on here, so you should all be in the Telegram group. If you're not, if you don't know what, actually, let me tell you, some people will be like, what is he talking about? What's Telegram? Telegram is an app on your phone, like WhatsApp, and you can literally just download it right now if you don't have it already. There's a link in the chat, and you know, just there's a link in the chat where you see from OSM Vision. It says all are welcome to join the official Wu-Sabat Telegram, where you can ask questions to the many student teachers, because we have many student teachers, but there's a https:// t.me, as in me, /OSM _ Wu-Sabat, that's WSABAT, right? That's the Telegram group. Join that. Oh yeah, I'm just looking. In fact, let me not jump because there are people at the top. I was just looking at the comment underneath that was saying, what about Marcus Garvey's day? Yeah, I'm all for productivity and efficiency, which is kind of where Donald Trump is heading in the moment, in cutting a lot of waste. But yeah, when you start to go to, you know, and let's see if we're gonna get rid of what's the one that there's the Irish Day that sent no, what do they call it? There's a holiday that they celebrate for the Irish. Anyway, it doesn't matter. I'm just saying, let's see if this, hopefully this is not racially motivated, and we'll see, because obviously Martin Luther King is close to a lot of people's hearts, man, and it's got to be across the board. Farrakhan speaks of being backed by the mothership. Is there any truth to this? There is truth in terms of the mothership, which the Honorable Elijah Muhammad spoke about, called the mother plane. He referred to it as the mother plane. And but I don't know about him being backed by it. But obviously, if you read the Holy Tablets, the master teacher relates the Honorable Elijah Muhammad to Krill, and Krill, you know, was on the what they call the mothership. So if that then spills over to Farrakhan, then, but I've never really heard him say that. But other than that, I remember when Pana Babyanun was talking about, he went into great detail about what the mother plane was and explained about the crystal city, which you can find in Revelations. Read the whole of Revelations 21. You'll get a clear picture of that. But then everybody was trying to disassociate with us, saying that we were crazy, talking about extraterrestrials and mother planes and crafts and stuff like that. But now that it's become popular, now I see even, you know, 19 Keys and certain people jumping on it and saying that, oh, we knew about that. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad first spoke about it, but did you explain it and go into depth and great detail and what it's there for and what it's about and what it's doing in this day and time and what it's going to be doing in the future? No, you didn't. So, you know, the master teacher, Dr. Malachi Z. Your partner Babyanun, came and explained and expounded on the lessons, and everybody, he set the record straight on everyone's teachings that were becoming, you know, chaos and desecrated. And you know, some people took offense to that, but he was just here to do his job, set the record straight, give you the facts, and give everybody the truth. Donald, what's the best way to get out of poverty when a society have you worried and concerned about so many things you can't barely think? Is there a good meditation or the best connection to the first thing is to change the mental perception of poverty. And if you think you're poor, then you are poor. If you think rich. I remember reading a book. Yeah, I read a book called Think and Grow Rich so many years ago. You have to realize there's abundance on the planet, and you can't let your circumstances or environment define you, because your mental, your mind has no limitations. You may not have access to the right tools or information, and this is what we can help with, because first of all is the mindset has to change. The mind is what controls the actions, and then the correct actions changes the vibration. That vibration will attract the right people, places, and things to you, because you are the center of your universe. And whatever you manifest in your universe is based on your mental. So the first thing, that's why do we have so many books and so much videos and things to get you to change your mind? Because that's all you literally need to do. Change your mind. Shall I smoke that cigarette? Yes or no? Change your mind. No. Shall I eat that? No. Shall I go there with those people? No. Shall I do that thing that I know it's not good for me? Just say no. It's a 2-letter word, N-O. That's how simple it is. And then you start to say yes to the right things. Shall I study? Yes. Read? Yes. Meditate? Yes. Drink lots of water? Yes. Exercise? Yes. Hang out with those people that are all about elevating their mind and building businesses and doing positive things? Yes. Help other people? Yes. Help humanity? Yes. 2 words. Yes and no. And that's that simple it is. But we make it very difficult. I don't know what's going on with you, Bob, but we ain't doing that. It shows. Okay. I don't know. There's some kind of something going on in the chat. How can we call in? Okay, the number's on there if you'd like to call in. The UK number or code is +44. The actual number to dial is 753 996 3882. All right, I repeat, +44 753 996 3882. That's how you can call in. Okay, let's keep going. Oh, okay. Somebody said I was answering the question on the Moors without even reading it. That's great. But yeah, so we are the original. We're the original everything that got desecrated, but we don't need to associate ourselves with those titles anymore, because to be honest, they haven't really done anything for you. If you're looking for, acres and a mule and all that kind of stuff, they ain't giving you that. So melanated people were in America before Africans even came here. Like you said, American was Atlantis. We're the same people. I don't know why this is a new thing as well, where so-called African Americans or people claiming to be Americans are trying to say they're not Africans. We understand the point, because as I've explained, and we've explained many points, that some people didn't come from Africa as in recent times, who are being referred to as Africans, to America. But the point is, the people that are in America, who were born in America, maybe even a few generations have been born in America, if you ask them where their DNA comes from, where do they originate from, they will say Africa. They will say that based on DNA, because everyone's DNA goes back to Africa. So let's not get caught up on names. This is why we're not Americans, we're not African Americans, we're not even Africans, we're Musbatu. But it's going to take, I started saying this, at the beginning, it's going to take time to educate not even educate, but to give you the knowledge of who you really are. So let's not create more divisions and fight about, I'm not American, I'm not African, I'm African American. That's just all the slave mentality to divide and conquer. So we're Nuwapians or Sabians, if you want to use a term that unites everybody, or Musbatu or Wu-Sabat. Okay, great. Let's keep going. Good comments. How do you prove that you are the original people on this planet? Right, that's from Kunda. When you say, how do you prove that you are the original people? The question is, who is the original people? And it's not me saying this. You can do research and find out historically, scientifically, you know, just like whatever method you want to use to find out who the first people on the planet. That's not even an argument these days. You know, it's unanimous amongst everyone, because if you know anything about things that are original, right, you start to look at like the amino acids, you start to look at the proteins, you start to look at why something consists of more something than something else. So I'm talking about melanin, for example, or, you know, whatever you want to look at. It's like if I took the most potent juice that you can mix and water down, if I have 3 glasses and the original is thick with no mixture, and I pour a bit into another glass, put a lot of water in it, it's going to be weaker than the original, right? And the third glass, I put even more water than the second glass. That's going to be weaker than the second one. So when you start to go into origins, this is where people that study things scientifically, they will break things down to like the lowest denominator, the atoms, and how they came about, and then how those atoms form, you know, come together to form constructs, right? Like cells, and the cells form organs, you know. So when you say, how do you prove that you are the original people on the planet? You can find writings on the wall, even in Egypt, like they try to, this is another thing. I saw a video the other day, but some guy that's a YouTuber called The Beast that was talking about, I think he was able to spend money on hiring the whole of Egypt, right? Mr. Beast, thank you. And I'm watching this thinking, the master told us this was going to happen, that like you have people that are not original inhabitants of Egypt, because we know about how the Arabs came about, right? That was from the product of Hagar, right? And Abraham given the birth to a son called Ishmael, and Ishmael is the father of the Arabs, and that goes all the way down to the point where the original inhabitants, right? So when you go to Egypt, there are different parts, Aswan, Cairo, Luxor, right? With any part of the world you go to, the original indigenous people are still there, but they've been pushed away or pushed out. You can go to Australia, you can go to China, you can go anywhere in the world, and you'll find out this, you know, this, even America today, where you have Europeans coming from Europe over there and claiming that they discovered it. And so what I'm basically saying to you is that when you look at the walls in Egypt, the temple Seti, it shows you the gravitation on the wall. It shows you the different races, the dark skin all the way to the light skin, where the Tamhu was grafted. And that's just on the walls and the writings. You look at the DNA, the fossils, you look at all the findings like Lucy, even in our book, we give you all the way, I think one time I was mentioning this and I said, let me see if I can find it, but you know, every single skeleton that has been found, right, you look at the dates and look at what the scientists are saying and the DNA and so on. Nobody's disputing that the Africans are first. So when people say, how can you prove it? They've got tombs and dug up pharaohs and taken out their bodies and taken DNA and put them in museums and for the whole world to see. So I don't even know why people are trying to, you can't fight that. It's just a reality. And that's just basics. I'm trying to find the page. Because, here we go. No, that's not it. What I would ask the person asking the question is, if we are not the first, tell us who is. You tell us who is so we can scrutinize it and then tell you, because like I said, whatever method you're going to use to prove or factually prove it, it can be debunked. You know what it is as well? If put the racism and all that aside, there are genuine people on the planet, no matter what race, there we go, no matter what race they come from, that are genuinely interested in the truth, right? And it's not even, black people trying to say, oh, black people were first just for the sake of it. You got genuine people, scientists of all walks of life and races who want to know the truth. And they will tell you the truth because they're about the truth. But here we go. On page 30 of those who have fast track your spiritual and conscious journey, yeah, how to help you activate the power of your mind and within. On page 30, right, the chapter called The Big Picture, it gives you some of these words you're going to have to forgive me because the way they're, so the date, 2.5 million years old, right? This was discovered in 1924 AD. This is what most people know as Australopithecus africanus. That's 2.5 million years. Then you have number 2, 3.2 million years old, right? This was found in 1974 AD. Again, Australopithecus afarensis, 4.4 million years old, discovered in 1992 AD. Ardi, right? This is where they shorten it to Ardi, but Ardipithecus ramidus, right? Then you get between 5.2 to 5.8 million years old, right? Found in 1997, Australopithecus cadaver, right? Research, Google this, right? Then 6.1 million years old, this was found in the year 2000 AD, Aurorin Togenesis, that's Tugenensis. And the one I've got here again, number 6, 7.1 million years old, right? So comparing that to what you're calling Lucy or Ardi, remember that Lucy is estimated around 3.2 million years old, right? Found in Kenya, I think. All of them are found in Africa, but 7.1 million years old. This was found as recent as 2002 AD. Sahelanthropus techendensis. Again, as I said, these words are not easy to pronounce. That's Tchadensis. Every single one of these, right? Excuse me. From 2.5 million years ago to 7.1 million years ago, every single one is found in Africa. Yeah, including RD, which is 5.2 to 5.8 million years ago. Excuse me. So, the facts speak for themselves. All right, let's keep going. Oh, someone was helping me. NAACP, yeah, that's right. The National Association for the Advancement of Colored People. And again, those terms, colored people, it's not us. Okay. Let's keep going. Okay, someone's saying Trump will not get rid of those days. Oh, that's not true. All right, that's cool. We'll see. I'm not saying he will or he won't. It's just what's been circulating. I'm comfortable here with OSM. I love it. We love you too. Look, even I'm still recovering, but we love you guys so much that we were like, I know I'm not really at my best, but we can't let the people
I was
down.
just about to say, everyone's saying get well soon, and I hope you get well.
Thank you. I'm already well, and I'm just, if this is the last part of it. Yeah, Friday I felt a bit weird, and then Saturday, there's a lot going on, you know, in the air and stuff, and people's passing. Yeah, I'm already better, thank you, but this is just the last of it. I just watched 2 hours, 30 minutes video on the original of this current dispensation on Earth. It's the most comprehensive I have ever seen. Okay, that's great. What you doing is working really. Got real street niggas changing, acting off nothing but a shook. Oh man, that, you know what? That touched me. Let me see, who's that? Tavian Brower. I hope I'm pronouncing your name right. Yeah, this is what this is what the master teacher told us. It's like we have to turn the hearts of the fathers to the sons, and the hearts of the sons to the fathers, because we're losing a lot of our young generation, and a lot of people only think about, oh, is, you know, is the drugs, is the this, is the that, but the reality is, a lot of the times it's not having the ashuk, not seeing the ashuk, not having anyone to be able to talk to about things they're going through, or that the religion has let them down. They know it's all lies. Young people growing up with smartphones, and they can just Google and, you know, find information out, and they're so upgraded that you can't tell them about a blonde hair, you know, blue eyes, someone's coming to save them, like in this day and time. They've grown up with seeing their mom and their grandma having that kind of mentality, and it hasn't helped. So, you know, a lot of the times they don't have someone that they can connect with, so they can connect with their peers, because they're all on the same kind of, you know what I mean, generation, and they can relate. And sometimes they have to fend for themselves, because when they look around at the adults, or the ones, the elders that are supposed to be the example, if they haven't progressed, they don't have anything to give or hand over to them, or not even hand over, but just like give them some wisdom and some jewels and real stuff. Then they're just gonna, you know, do what they think is best. So when you're saying that, that's really good, because yeah, and it brings me to the young 18-year-old that I had a conversation with as well. For those who haven't seen that video, go and watch that, because that's Isaiah. He's so calm. It was calm. It was like, yeah, it's one of the best conversations, one-to-ones we've had. And he was just so, at 18 years old, you know, it's like, that's our future right there, man. When you see they're already on that vibration, on that level, you know. So yeah, we want to win our children back, you know, because a lot of them, they actually think if they live to 16, they're it's like they don't, a lot of them don't think they deserve to live to past 16, 17, 18, you know, and they've been given the wrong outlook on life, and we have to you know, ignite them with who they really are, and that life that they may be thinking street life or whatever road, that's not the life for them, you know. But they have to have alternatives. They have to know that we, the elders, have got their back and can actually, you know, provide and support and help them to get to where they want to get to. Okay, let's go. Has the governments of the world already met black extraterrestrials? That's another interesting point, actually, because, like, again, I think I mentioned this. Is that the time already? Wow. Like, I mentioned about, I mean, sometimes I will just touch on things and leave it. I remember saying there's now galactical racism, because how is it that they don't really talk or push the black extraterrestrials, but they'll talk about the Greys, they'll talk about the Ashtar Federation, Aldebaran, a lot of people will talk about the Venerians, you know, they will even talk about reptilians, but somehow the black ones don't really get mentioned. But We're the black extraterrestrials. That's why they're always trying to figure out how we do all the things we can do on the planet. And we've got one with us. And the Panatharu, you know, they're manifesting more and more every day. Wow. Okay, we've reached the end, unfortunately. Not the end, but the end of the live. Yeah, because we keep going on the Telegram group. That's why we always say, come over. But the Valentine's video, obviously, we're coming up to February the 14th, and people are going to be celebrating this. Watch the video, like the video, share the video, you know, give it a thumbs up, hit that notification bell so you'll be notified of the next video. And yeah, we want to really appreciate, love, and thank you all for your contributions. And anyone who I haven't got to in terms of answering your question, again, you see how it works. The phone calls come in rapidly, and I think the best thing to do, if you don't find that you're getting your questions answered regularly, just ring in. The phone gets priority, and then the Telegram group carries on with the questions that we don't get answered. So I just want to say sorry if we didn't get to you, but ask your question in the Telegram group or call back in next week live, same place, same time. Wu-Sabat, Ask Us Anything, Season 2. Next episode will be episode 19. That should be special because we like the number 19. All right, so until next week, want to say appreciate, love, wadu,